Did a bit of math this morning that made me laugh out loud. Uh, Standing right there at the kitchen table since the start of the harvest, near as I can figure, I've picked something in the neighborhood of 300 pounds of food out of that garden. 300 pounds. Carried in by hand, basket at a time by a man who swore last year that he was going to plant less. So that's your one-line update on my life right now. Harvest is taken over completely, and I am its willing servant. Let me now fill you in properly. The tomatoes are the main event, as always. Those beds I rebuilt, you might remember me hauling, all that compost earlier in the year and complaining the whole time. Well, they've answered. They've answered almost too well. I'm picking every other day, and I'm still finding ripe ones hiding that I swear weren't there the day before. The kitchen counter is full. The freezer is filling. We've eaten tomatoes in every form a tomato can take. And the neighbors have stopped making eye contact with me because they know that I'm coming with another bag full. It's the best kind of problem a gardener can have. And I'm not complaining, but I want it on the record that heavy harvest is real work. Picking, sorting, dealing with it all before it turns. It's a part-time job that shows up uninvited every August and doesn't leave until the frost does. And then there's zucchini, which I didn't even want to talk about, except I have to because it's becoming the running joke of my whole summer. I planted what I considered to be a modest, responsible amount of zucchini. The zucchini did not receive that message. Turn your back on a zucchini plant for 2 days, and there's something under those leaves the size of your forearm. I've given them away, graded them into everything. Hidden them in places zucchini has no business being. If you've grown it, If you haven't, plant one, just one. Trust me on this. Now, honesty time, because I never want this channel to be one of those places where everything's always perfect. The cucumbers fail me this year. Or more truthfully, the beetles got to them early. The plants never really recovered. And I made the call to pull them rather than nurse a lost cause all season. Stung a little, watching that bed sit there while everything around it boomed, especially with the rest of the garden showing off like it was. But, that's gardening. And anybody who tells you every crop comes in every year is selling you something. So you lose one, you learn from it, you plant that bed somewhere else, or plant within that bed something else and move on, which I did. That bed's already got fall greens coming up in it, so it'll earn its keep. A quick word on worms too, because a lot of you asked after them, which delayed me more than you know. The worm bin is thriving, better than thriving. I harvested my first proper batch of castings a few weeks back, that dark, rich, beautiful stuff that they make, and worked it in around some of the hungriest plants. And my little livestock, as I've started calling them. Still checking on them like pets. No regrets whatsoever. Another job that's crept into my evenings is seed saving, which is one of my favorite quiet rituals of the whole year. The best tomato of the season doesn't get eaten at my house. It gets sacrificed. Seeds scooped out, cleaned up, dried on a labeled paper towel, and tucked away for spring. Same with the beans that I let dry down on the vine and a few other favorites. There's something deeply satisfying about it, closing the loop like that. Next year's garden, sitting in little envelopes in a drawer, grown from this year's best. It costs nothing, and it means the varieties that do well in my soil keep getting better at being in my soil. If you've never saved a seed in your life, start with one tomato this year. That's how everybody starts. And for those wondering how I'm keeping up with the food, I'll confess I'm a freezer man, mostly. Sauce cooked down in big batches and frozen flat, peppers chopped and bagged, all of it stacked up like firewood for winter. Come January, when the garden's asleep under the cold, we'll be eating. We'll be eating August out of the freezer, and I promise you nothing from any store tastes like summer pulled out of your own deep freeze. Looking ahead, the fall shift is starting. So greens are in, garlic order is sitting on my shelf waiting for its moment, and I've been filming bits and pieces all through the harvest chaos. Real footage of real picking, gluts and failures included. Some good videos are going to come out of this stretch, including an honest one about the cucumber situation, because I think the losses teach better than the wins sometimes. Before I go, thank you though for all the harvest photos you've been leaving in the comments. Seeing your hauls, your first ever tomatoes, your own zucchini regrets, it's turned the comment section into my favorite place on the internet lately. You know, we're bringing it in together, and I love that. All right. There's a basket of tomatoes on my counter giving me a look. Back to it. I'll talk to you soon, and if anybody wants zucchini, maybe you know where I live. If you do, come get some zucchini.